you have this chief of police who's already been in trouble and lost his job in Pinellas Park. Well, he resigned because that was his only way. And then some idiot, after being that corrupt with racism and everything, goes and gives him the job of being the chief of police for Kansas City, which is a joke. Kansas City's like nothing. But it's still frustrating because he was bullying me and he would not let up. And I'm going to show everybody like everything, the police report. I'm going to put all this together. And my dog show van is like driving a Coca-Cola machine. A Coca-Cola semi. I mean, it's got my name, my phone number, my everything on it. So with all of that being said, you know, it's absurd that all of this, he's gotten away with all of this. I mean, not only did he call my husband and embellish a story and coach him, and this is what you do, and you gotta lie. Then after a few months, I go to get my mail, and he punches his charger and almost runs me down. I swear it was like an inch away from me. So I call the original officer that was gonna deal with this Riley and tell him about what he heard, because he came to the house and listened to the whole recording, and he couldn't believe it. And I also was very annoyed because the officer that I sent to do a wellness check on my husband didn't do his job right either, and tried to turn it on me, because narcissists are liars, they're manipulators, and that's all they do is try to manipulate people. So the officer did nothing, and the following day he was Baker acted. He literally came out of the bushes as Jesus Christ and came after me. So you can only imagine. I am like, I guess really it doesn't matter if the state's attorney has all this information and it's not just a divorce situation. I don't hate him. I feel sorry for him. You know, he needs long-term treatment. It is absolutely absurd to me that anybody would be walking the streets like this and not getting the help they need. And you know, my lawyer contacted this Chief Kevin Riley and said, why are you a witness for this injunction hearing? And he said, oh, because of something that happened at Christmas. Well, funny thing is, the day before this parade that I guess they had, I was moving. When the pod got delivered, I was being very, very, very harassed and bullied. There were 3 big dually trucks, and we owned half of the dead end road. And I was so sick of it. When I called the police, I told them, I'm afraid to call you guys. I don't know who I can trust. And I think his name was Spoonbotch or something. This was on a Friday. I talked to him for 45 minutes, once again reporting this Kevin Riley for stalking me for my husband. He assured me that not all police are corrupt and that I shouldn't lose hope, and that if I see the other truck, just to go to the dead end road and get the tag number. And that's all I did. I did what I was supposed to do. So I was on the phone about 45 minutes with this officer on a Friday, and this incident took place Saturday because I was moving soon and the pod got delivered and they really turned up the heat. So Riley must have seen my van. Now you have to catch this, okay? When he called my husband months prior to coach him and all that and try to get me arrested or whatever, he knew about the guns and everything. And he said, oh, the dog show van, yes, it's here. My husband kind of got clammy and freaked out and said, well, get out of there, she's there. And he goes, well, there's no lights on, after he went through my trash and everything. So he clearly knew. You can't miss the dog show van. It's extended cab, big, white. I'm 5'11". I stick out like a sore thumb. It's got a banner on both sides with my name and phone number, okay? It's ridiculous. So from him admitting that, then on the 911 calls, when I was trying to move, which was probably like 5 to 6 months later, I call 911 and explain that I'm reporting Kevin Riley again for harassing and bullying me. And they were gonna send an officer out. I gave him the tag number and whatnot. And then Riley calls in, because I ordered the 911 recordings. And this is what's so funny. Allegedly, The brother-in-law that was in the truck I was getting the tag on took off running. Well, he raises wild tigers, and he is a career criminal. He's a felon, and he beats the shit out of his wife too, and to the point where he actually violated his injunction, which we all know is impossible. So with that being said, this alleged man that's a wife beater and raises wild tigers and lions, he calls Kevin Riley, the chief of police, which is my neighbor, and then he calls 911 and says, hey, I think her name was Joyce. Hey, Joyce, this is Kevin Riley. Oh, hey, chief, how are you doing? Oh, I'm fine. How are you? Things going good, blah, blah, blah. Like, if it was an emergency, he would be saying that. And then he says, my brother-in-law thinks he's being followed by a white van, and it's like got dogs, like decals of dogs down the side or something, you know, and he doesn't know why they're following him. Well, number one, he was walking distance from the stop sign to the chief of police, Kevin Riley's house. Why on earth would he run? And then when the police call me from Pinellas Park and say they pulled this alleged person over, there were two men in the truck. I asked who the passenger was. The guy hesitated and said, I don't know. And I said, you don't know? Well, the most disturbing part of all this is when Riley's on the 911 call and he proceeds saying, he's like making light, like, oh, there's a white van and I think there's like decals of dogs. Wouldn't it make more sense if the guy was in fear of his life and somebody was following him? Wouldn't it make more sense for the guy to hit 911 than to call his brother-in-law, Chief Kevin Riley? Because as far as I'm concerned, he did that to cover something up. I'm positive of it. And they were harassing the shit out of me before I left. I couldn't wait to leave there. You have no idea. So my lawyer actually told Riley that, you know, Bill Benson is not your friend, and that he's been recording your phone calls. And then he explained that he threatened to shoot a judge and everyone in the courtroom, on top of saying that he slept with me, meaning my lawyer, and it was just crazy making. So this Kevin Riley then turns and says, oh, I don't really know him. He has domestic disputes all the time, and he has a fantasy relationship with me. And my lawyer told me, he said to him, do you know that he has assault rifles? And this Kevin Riley said, absolutely not. I didn't know that. And my lawyer even said to me he was shocked that he lied right to his face, which really shocking. I mean, my God, they did a full-page article in him in the St. Pete Times 5 years ago for corruption. What would be shocking about that? I'm not surprised. He was subpoenaed to court. He didn't show up, because one thing is for sure, my lawyer did know him on a personal level, and my lawyer knew that he couldn't shut me up, and I was going to raise my hand. And I was talking to the news for 2 years. They're informed of all of what's going on with that. And my lawyer knew that I would raise my hand and play the recording to the judge. So he told Riley it was in his best interest not to come, and he didn't come. However, my lawyer said that there's an open investigation on you, and it didn't make sense. So he said, get the police report. Well, when I went down to get the police report, it was nothing. It basically said I was the perpetrator and Chief Kevin Riley was the victim and I was stalking him. Which, weird, right? If I was stalking him, why was I the one reporting him for stalking me for 1.5 years? He just got coached and that's his story? That's what he's going to come up with? It's freaking ridiculous. I mean, a 2-year-old could see through this. If you see the chain of events and you listen to each thing, this guy should go to jail for life. It's bullshit. So I talked to the sheriff. So many people heard everything and they know everything. I am turning everything over to the FDLE, and I pray to God that there's justice, because the judge that took over the injunction, He just was misinformed. He is a great judge. He's very fair. But when you read a police report and it states that me, the victim, is stalking the chief of police, and it was a no-info case, and it was 3 pages long, and he said he hadn't talked to my husband in 18 months, and that he told him that I had guns and he was afraid I was going to come shoot him and his family in the face. Well, wouldn't that be grounds for the police to investigate me, or at least come out and talk to me and say, hey, your neighbor thinks you're stalking him and you're going to murder his family? Well, they never did. And another thing, you can't have an open investigation for 6 months. See, if my lawyer wasn't so brilliant to tell me to go get that police report, I would have never known what was going on. I would have went into court and they would have completely slandered me. And the judge would have had to have believed it, because who on earth would believe that a police officer would lie to that level and do these horrible things? It was bad enough I had to live in that house alone, scared to death, because my husband was doing drugs and off his rocker, and he thought he was Jesus Christ. So, you know, I can't blame my husband and his mental illness, but I damn sure blame this chief of police, Kevin Riley, because when somebody is losing it and is that crazy with paranoia and so on and so forth, how on earth can he justify coaching him and making him and leading him to believe that I'm crazy and that get her out of the house and she's dead in the water? And, you know, let me see. I have so many notes here. It's ridiculous about this Riley. You would think, right? Here again, you would think that Riley would have stopped after the whole shenanigans with Pinellas Park and the full-page article in the St. Pete Times, but that didn't stop him at all. Because you see, people like this, they get away with murder. If you do it once and you have no consequence and you don't pay consequence for your bad behavior, you're going to do it again and again and again. And that is what is wrong with society. That is what's wrong with the system. Why is it that people are going around murdering people and killing people? It takes it that far before they do anything. And you know what? Shame on me, because of Riley, I actually got a chip on my shoulder and was in fear to call the police. I was in fear to call the police because I didn't know who I could trust. He was constantly watching me, constantly harassing me, and this has to get out there. I cannot take it that this happened to me. I couldn't sleep at night. I was having nightmares. It was horrible. You know, I just really need this out there. I need to get everything to the FDLE. And this just has to stop. This just has to stop. This Riley completely lied on the 911 call. It's just crazy. It's crazy. The whole thing is crazy. But again, I cannot blame my husband because of the drug use, and he is mentally ill. I do blame that police officer when I did the wellness check, because I knew my husband and he did nothing. And the next day he was Baker acted in the form of Jesus Christ. 3 officers walked up and heard the entire thing. Okay? Try waking up one day and having your husband come home like that. It's frightening. And this Riley, this is wrong. And that's why he didn't show up to court, because he knew if he did, I was playing it for the judge. I know this for a fact because my lawyer talked to him and told him. And that is why he was subpoenaed and did not go to court. The only unfortunate thing is the judge accepted the falsified police report into evidence that Riley did. And that is why I'm going public, and that is why I'm putting this out. And I have so much more information. We're way over time now, so I'll have to come back to part 2 on the corruption with the police. Just look for that if you want to see what more I have.